last video, I talked about quitting shame and choosing to be more sustainable in my fashion habits. And some of you have been asking me how to become more sustainable from a fashion consumption perspective and what you need then to buy considering the environmental and social impacts of fashion. If you're one of those people who want to also know the answer to this, then this is the video for you. I am going to be sharing with you guys the things that I'm doing in my own life to start to quit fast fashion and become more sustainable, as well as tips on how you can also do the same in your own life as you strive to make sustainability a lifestyle. Hi Nation family, and welcome to another video. Welcome to those of you who are new to this channel. Before we continue with this video, I would like to celebrate with you guys because we have now reached 500 plus subscribers. Okay, I am truly grateful, and I would just like to appreciate and thank each and every single one of you for supporting here and showing up and engaging with me here. For 2024, my hope is for you guys to keep showing up and engage more with me here on YouTube as well as on other social media networks. So you can find iRootForNature on Instagram and TikTok. So you can head over there right now and follow me out there for more day-to-day content on sustainability, sustainable living, and climate change information, just all that we talk about here. And speaking of engagement, please do let me know down below in the comments section what kind of videos do you guys like to see more of on this channel, including environmental and sustainability information that you'd like to know more of. Okay, without wasting more time, let's get into today's video. So I got a question from some of you about what people then need to buy if we are quitting fast fashion, and this is considering the fact that that's mostly what's available there on the market, right? And I like this question particularly in the context of those who are living in developing countries where the majority of the clothes that we have access to is actually fast fashion clothing brands. There's also issues around poverty and access to be considered here. However, we will not be getting into that in this particular video, but what I will just be sharing with you is what you can do where you are and with what you have to adopt more sustainable fashion habits. To start off, we have to briefly look at facts about the fashion industry and its sustainability impacts. It is very important for us to come from there before we start to get to what then do we need to do, right? So generally, when it comes to the fashion industry, this is a booming industry and represents an important part of our economy as a whole. We all like to look good, right? But the question here is, at what cost? Research shows that the fashion industry contributes about 10% towards global greenhouse gas emissions. This is more than the greenhouse gas emissions contributions of the aviation and shipping industries combined, okay? That is a lot. Secondly, when it comes to sustainability, the fashion industry has a high impact on water resources. It dries up water resources because it actually uses a lot of water in the production of goods and materials, and also pollutes water resources through the disposal of waste materials. For example, it actually takes 3 liters of water to produce 1 pair of jeans. And if you want to think about the amount of jeans, the amount of denim that we see on the market, multiply each one by 3 liters of water. That's the amount of water that is being taken up, okay, just by trying to produce denim in this world. Also, about 85% of fashion textiles go into waste dumps each year. This is either through manufacturers disposing of it or people throwing away what they don't need anymore. And also, when you wash your clothes, some microplastics are produced which end up in the ocean and are detrimental to marine life and the health of the ocean itself. So from this, we can actually see that the fashion industry actually has a huge environmental impact. And as a result of that, we need to consider the costs of fashion when we are consuming these products. Here, I just want to pause and share with you our sustainability fact for the week. Did you know that 60% of all the materials used in the fashion industry are made out of plastic? Plastic is not easily biodegradable and it can take hundreds of years before it can break down. It is therefore detrimental to the natural environment and thus important for us all to reduce the amount of plastic that we use and also try to recycle and reuse plastic products. So yeah, coming back, it's important for us to know that fast fashion always comes at a cost. There is a real human cost to fast fashion, okay? It has been reported that textile workers, primarily women in developing countries, are often underpaid and forced to work long hours in appalling working conditions. Some companies even use child labor, y'all, just to get products on the market. In many places, these working conditions create infringements on human rights. The use of chemicals in clothes production also raise serious health concerns both for the workers in the industry and for consumers as well. Further, the environmental and social cost of the fashion industry is too significant to be ignored. It forces us to rethink fast fashion and stresses the need for more sustainable business models and practices. This is why I personally made a decision to start changing my own consumption habits when it comes to fashion and start to become more sustainable and make more conscious choices. I want to look good. I mean, everyone wants to look good. We all want to look good, right? But I want to do it while still protecting the environment and human life, and you can too. By the way, if you haven't watched my previous videos on adopting sustainable habits and changing my fashion habits, please go and watch them. I'm going to link them somewhere here so that it's easier for you to access them. So before we proceed to how you can actually become more sustainable, let's define what sustainable fashion actually means. Sustainable fashion is the use of textiles that significantly minimizes the impact of its conventional alternatives, whether through organic and chemical-free farming, use of recycled materials, circular manufacturing processes, and sustainable prospects for end-of-life disposals. So it is really about the materials that we use to produce products, where we source them, and how biodegradable they are, their impacts on the natural environment, their impacts to human life, and just making sure that there is a longer life cycle of those products throughout the life cycle of that product. So that's where the reuse and the recycling of materials comes in, because you don't want to just produce something that you make today and tomorrow you're throwing it away. I mean, that is not sustainable at all. So based on this definition, if you're wondering how you can be more sustainable when it comes to fashion, here are some tips for you. And these are things that I am also implementing in my own life. So since we are doing this sustainable lifestyle thing together, I am just going to share this with you here. First tip when it comes to adopting a more sustainable and conscious approach to your fashion habits, you have to choose quality over quantity. As mentioned in my previous video, cheap is in fact expensive. You actually spend more trying to buy cheap stuff than if you actually sacrifice and buy that high quality item that is a bit more pricey but will last you a lifetime, or you can simply get more uses out of it. Normally, fast fashion items are not meant to last longer, mostly because trends come and go. So even the material that is used is not durable, it is not properly sourced, and people are not thinking of long term. They're just thinking of making a material now because it's trendy and then dispose of it, So when it comes to sustainable fashion, durability and quality is key. So here you kind of want to look at items that will actually last longer, that even when you decide you don't need it anymore, you can hand it down to someone and that person can have a good run with it. Truth is, it can look like it's expensive to buy a high quality item, and it is upfront. I mean, let's be honest, it is upfront, but in the long run, it is actually cheaper than if you keep buying the same thing over and over again because you're just not getting many uses of it. I've had experiences where I keep buying the same top, I keep buying the same pair of jeans because the last time I bought it, it didn't last me for 6 months. I now have to keep buying the same thing. So that's the concept here, durability and quality. Once you get that, you know that this one thing, even though it costed you an arm and a leg to get it initially, you're gonna get like 3, 4, 5 years usage out of it, and you don't need to keep buying. So personally, years ago, I made a decision to buy a few pairs of jeans that have tons of them, and this is because I've been struggling with getting nice pairs of jeans that just last longer. I mean, this kind of decision can cost you, you know, in all honesty, but I still have jeans that I bought way back in 2020 and they still look good, okay? I don't have to keep buying jeans unless there's a specific reason why I need it. So like recently, I've been getting into more flared or straight jeans. So I had to add these to my collection of jeans, and I just got like blue or black jeans because I can wear those with anything, which leads me to my next point. Tip number 2, versatility. Versatility. Buy key pieces that you can wear with anything. That alone minimizes the need for you to keep buying stuff simply because you don't have it in your wardrobe, but now you need it because you have an event or something came up and you actually need something along those lines to wear. If you get key pieces that are important, you avoid this trap of continuously buying things that you might not even need beyond that event or beyond that thing that you needed that item for, or something you won't even need a few months after purchasing it. When it comes to fashion, there are always key things that everyone needs in their wardrobes, like a good blazer, a good pair of jeans, a good coat. So when you make these purchases, look for high quality items that you can afford and that are also versatile, so that you don't feel the need to look for more because it's not matching with a lot of things in your wardrobe, right? So personally right now, these are some of the considerations that I am making as I am rebuilding my wardrobe. So I had to give away the majority of my stuff last year, and I'm basically trying to but I'm being very conscious about the new pieces that I'm bringing into my wardrobe, right? I want them to be more recyclable, something that is durable, something of high quality, but I'm also thinking of pieces that I can wear with anything, that I can style. If I'm going for a formal work event, that is something that I can use. If it's like a casual event, if it's like day-to-day wear, something that I can play around with for different occasions. Those are the kind of items I'm now trying to bring into my wardrobe. So basically, try as much as possible to have a few items that actually go with anything, but you still look good anyway. It doesn't necessarily mean wearing the same thing every single day. No, you can still look good, okay? But style your key pieces differently. It's now a matter of how you style than it is about having so much more. Tip number 3, avoid fashion waste as much as possible. Clothes, especially those that are made from materials that are not eco-friendly or biodegradable, for example polyester, when disposed into the natural environment, they become a big source of waste, and the toxic chemicals released from the materials are also very detrimental to the natural environment. It is therefore important that we avoid as much as possible throwing away used clothes. I used to have a tendency of that. Something is torn, I just throw it away in the bin, but that is waste, okay? That's not what we are looking for here. Here we're looking for ways to minimize that waste. So it could literally be going to a tailor to ask them to fix that item, or donating to those who may need it and may know what to do with it, even though you don't see any use for it to you anymore. So look for people around you, or thrift these things, or donate them to charity shops. You could also think of ways to reuse or repurpose the item, especially when it's a garment. The material is not a waste, right? So if you don't like it as a top anymore, maybe you can make it into a headband or something, like repurpose the material. Or you could actually opt for recycling the material instead. Now, this might be an uphill task as an individual, but there are many retail brands that are now promoting sustainable fashion, and you can actually take your old clothes to them and they'll do the recycling for you. So I know that H&M is one of those brands that are doing that. So you can drop off your old clothes. It doesn't matter which store you bought them from. You can just like take a bag, put them in a bag and drop it off at H&M, and they'll give you a shopping discount voucher in return. I just want to point out here that this is not sponsored. I just like the stance that they took, because then it alleviates some of my concerns. If I actually want to recycle this, where do I go? How do I do it? They've just made it easier for me. And the fact that you get a shopping voucher out of it, it means that for the 30 clothes that I've given away, I'm gonna get 1 or 2 things that are actually useful and maybe more eco-friendly, because they have a conscious choice range that you can choose from as well. I mean, they're not perfect, but at least you can have that option of choosing. The point here is to not ever have to dispose of clothes, because there are some things you simply cannot give away, either because they're so worn out and it's impossible to reuse or repurpose, or perhaps it's a bit more intimate to share with others. Okay, the point of reusing and recycling fashion items is to minimize the duration and avoiding having these in our natural environment as much as possible. So it's about basically increasing their life cycle before disposal. So get as many uses out of the thing as possible before it's time to dispose. But even as we dispose, it has to be done in an environmentally responsible manner. Tip number 4, check materials being used to produce an item. This has become like a hobby to me. It is very important to check the labels before you buy. Okay, you don't just check labels for size anymore. When you're thinking of sustainability, you are also checking the label to see what materials have been used to produce this garment, okay, and see if that is sustainable. What I've been doing is to literally go on Google and check what is eco-vero, because as a consumer sometimes you don't know, okay, what are the impacts of polyester on the natural environment, what are the impacts of linen, you know, just to sort of like know before you buy, is this a sustainable item or not? Okay, so here I just want to give you a tip or an idea of what would be an unsustainable material, and then what would be a sustainable or eco-friendly material. So unsustainable materials include polyester, nylon, and other synthetic fibers. These products mostly come from fossil fuels, so they are not easily biodegradable or recyclable, which means that they last longer in the natural environment, some even taking up to 200 years to decompose. Okay, they also release microplastics with each wash, which are then released into the environment, contaminating our water resources. And then some examples of clothing materials that are eco-friendly are your organic and recycled cotton, your wool, your recycled polyester, linen, bamboo, modal, eco-vero, and other vegan materials. These products have a reduced carbon footprint than their counterparts, your polyesters and nylons, and they are often sustainably sourced. So these are the kind of materials you want to be looking out for when you're checking that label. Like, is it nylon, or is it eco-vero? Is it recycled polyester? You know, because that is more preferable than actual polyester. So that's what you're looking for here. Before we go to the next tip, I just want to pause here and say that if you're enjoying watching this video so far and would like more information on sustainable living, please click on the subscribe button down below so that you don't miss out on more videos such as this one, and don't forget to hit the notification bell, which is right next to it, so that you're notified every single time I upload a video. Okay guys, so tip number 5. Only buy what you need. I know this is so difficult, especially for us women. Sometimes we plan for future. We're like, oh, I don't need this thing today, but I may need it in 6 months time, or I may have an event and then I get to wear this, but that event never comes, and now you're just like stocking up things in your wardrobe. And I totally get it. Like, I've done it. I sometimes still do it, in as much as I'm still trying to change. Sometimes I still do it. You know, as humans, we often have a tendency to buy something because it's nice, or you want it so you can look a certain way at an event, or for whatever look you're trying to go for at that time. But do you really need that item? And there's this thing where we buy something just because it's on sale, but do you really need it? I am guilty of this myself. I've done it, but now I'm trying to have more self-control and try as much as possible to only get the things that I actually need. To intentionally ask myself the question, do I need this item? It is so hard when you're looking at it and it's so beautiful and you're in the shop, but now I'm stopping to pause and actually ask myself that question. Do I need this item? For what reason do I need this item? And if I do need it, is it eco-friendly? Is it of good quality? Is it durable? Am I actually going to wear this thing? How many times am I going to wear it? What else can I wear this item with, and where can I wear it? Do I have a similar item in my wardrobe? Because we now tend to have 30,000 things in our wardrobes that look the same, okay? Just because this thing looked nice, or it was cheap, or it was on sale, now we end up buying one and the same thing. So those are some of the considerations you need to take into account as well. When you start to ask yourself these questions, you realize that half the things that you are buying, you don't even need them, okay? I'm not perfect yet. I even know when I'm buying something because I need it, or because I just want to have it and I want to have it right now. This is where the whole hierarchy of needs and wants comes in, right? The economics of it all. I am learning to say no to myself, especially when it comes to my wants and desires. The more I do, the more I realize I actually have so much joy when I buy a more sustainable item than when I don't. And then here, I also want to point out that sales and discounts are a trap, okay? They are a trap. We tend to buy what we don't need just because it's on sale, and we think, well, I never know, I might need it one day. Or, this thing was 500 Rand, now it's 90 Rand. I am getting it by virtue of the fact that it's way less cheaper now. Once you think that, it means that that thing is not a necessary thing, and it's just going to take up unnecessary space in your wardrobe. So rather don't get it. Personally, because I am rebuilding my wardrobe, sales have actually helped me in this particular season, because now I can find those key pieces that I'm looking for at reduced prices, and I'm saving because of it. Other than that, you'll try not to fall into this trap, especially when you want to be more sustainable in your practices. Rather refrain from buying it all. But if you cannot, for every item that you buy, you might want to think about 2 or 3 items that are in your wardrobe that you are going to sell or give away to make space for this new item that you have bought. That's how the sustainability cycle starts. Tip number 6. Check sustainability practices of some of your favorite brands. This is about the full life cycle of a product, right? And when you speak of sustainability, we're not just looking at the environmental impacts. They are very important, but also look at the social impact of that brand. What are their ethical practices? You want to look at that as well. So you're looking at from where the materials are sourced to the place to where they're being sold. Because if you don't check for these things, or if you're basically unbothered, or you feel like it's something you shouldn't be caring about, what you're doing is effectively promoting or condoning negative environmental and social impact and practices when you're buying from these brands that are basically neglecting the need to protect the environment and to uphold human rights in their business models. So look into the environmental and social footprint of a brand, what their sustainability stance is, and if they're actually doing it, or it's all just words. Because there is a lot of greenwashing happening here, where people make promises but they're not implementing them. So that is also what you need to check out for before you decide who to buy for, which favorite brands to stay with, and who to try. So basically, the environmental impacts of fashion are a hidden cost that we should always think about. It might cost you a little as a consumer to get that item that is probably trending, but you need to consider what are the social and environmental costs of this item. We also have to understand that various considerations have to be taken into account when you make a purchase. For instance, the durability of the item. Just because something is made out of an eco-friendly material, which is biodegradable, doesn't necessarily mean that it is sustainable, especially if it's not of good quality or durable. I've made that mistake myself. I bought something because it was made out of a recycled material, but it turned out it wasn't durable. Literally with one wash, this thing tore up. Okay, so you want to think about that as well. Is it durable? Is it high quality? Is it versatile? Is it made out of an eco-friendly material? All these factors, they sort of like work together, not in isolation. One other thing I just want to remind you guys here is that sustainable living is a journey of constant learning, and these are just some of the things that we need to consider as consumers. You learn, you unlearn. you make a mistake and you know for future, I'm not buying there because they say this is eco-friendly, but actually it's not durable, it's not good quality, so I'm going to stop buying that. You're constantly learning every single time. And I would just like to remind you guys that this journey is more about progression and not perfection. It's about one change every day, which amounts to more significant changes in future. But as consumers, we also have the power to influence change in the fashion industry. Now we know that the fashion industry has significant impact on the environment and social aspects of our lives, so we can actually change and influence a change in behavior in the industry. And one of the ways we can start to do that is to opt for more sustainable brands and fashion trends. It forces those in the fashion retail industry to do the same. I'm urging you today to start looking at your own carbon footprint as an individual as it pertains to fashion and everything else. Really, I mean, this video is about fashion, but we're thinking about everything else that you do in life, and decide on your own what changes you could start to implement in your life today to become more sustainable and make the conscious choice to look good while still protecting the environment that we live in and ensuring that human rights are upheld everywhere. Okay, you guys, we've reached the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it so useful, and that we can all start to be more conscious of our consumption habits and start to live more sustainable lifestyles. If you've watched until this end but you haven't subscribed yet, I mean, what are you waiting for? Please do subscribe and join the family so that you won't miss out on other videos such as this one. Until the next time, stay true, keep fighting, and keep the earth clean.